problem with this K24 swap 350Z. Using a kit from PMC to mate the K24 to the CD09 transmission. And but my buddy Matt, he made all this stuff. So he made the ram horn. He did pretty much all the fabrication work with the tubing and the intercooler, and he did this. So he did a aftermarket eBay, and then he made his own deal here where the throttle body is. I don't know if you guys can see, it's kind of under there, but so he did all that, and he put this motor in the car. There's a transmission over there. So the problem that we're encountering right now. So he also used a south bend clutch, and then he used here is the PMC's kit. So what was going on and what I was experiencing after I got the head gasket done and everything put back together and was trying to get the tune dialed in, try to get some idling issues dialed in, and then just trying to get the drivability done, or not done, but just kind of dialed in and get it ready for the dyno, was I drove the car around the block about 3 times, and then I think it was about the last, just trying to see what kind of boost it's gonna make on the gate, and then trying to iron out some of the fuel corrections and stuff like that. I pulled it into the driveway, and then it ended up making some weird random noise. And it sounded like it was coming from the bell housing area or the clutch area. So as you would push the clutch in, and then let the clutch out, so you depress the clutch and then you let the clutch out, the car would sometimes either die, or it would drag it all the way down to where it almost wanted to die, or it would just die completely. Cold starting this thing is nearly impossible. I've thrown everything at the tune, cranking fuel, post-cranking fuel, ignition timing. I mean, there's a whole lot of things. I can just make a separate video on all the stuff that I tried to get this thing to cold start. Once it gets up to operating temperature, it idles fine. It'll idle and rev fine after it gets up to temperature, but as it's cold, it will not. You have to start it like a carburetor. It's pretty ridiculous. So I noticed after a while going in, and so I was thinking that at first it was the idle air control motor. So I went and replaced the idle air control motor, and then this thing is running a Haltech 1500 Elite, and I rewired it into the Haltech a different way from what Ing Specialties had. They had it wired some way, and so I just went onto Haltech's website and just wired it the way Haltech said to wire it in. So I changed that, and that worked somewhat, but the cold start still wasn't functioning, and trying a bunch of different things and just can't get this thing to cold start. Well, as this is all happening, this noise that's coming from the transmission is starting to get louder and louder and louder, and I've noticed when you push in the clutch, the car will make this ridiculous noise, and then after you hold and let it idle, or hold it down to get it to warm up, the noise goes away. I don't know if you guys can see this right here, but this is literally just idle time. This is just idle time and three pulls around the block. That's it. Everything else feels fine. Everything feels fine. The only problem, the issues I'm having is this noise that it's making and the cold start issue, and then when you're pressing in the clutch, the car wants to die. I'm sorry, not pressing the clutch. When you press the clutch in and then release the clutch, the car wants to sometimes die. Or if you try to cold start the car without pushing, you know, if you push the clutch in, you cold start the car and let the clutch out, it'll just die. So I tore this all apart, trying to figure out where this noise is coming from, and I think it's this piece right here, this bushing. Most of the time when you tear these apart, I'm used to looking at or seeing a pilot bearing and not a bushing. I know there's a lot of makes and models that use a bushing, but this particular kit that adapts the CD09 to the K24 is using this style pilot bushing. So the conclusion that I've come to, and again we'll focus in here, this is on the steel plate that's on the flywheel. So this whole plate here, whole plate system, it just spaces it out from the K24, gets it closer, gets the clutch in the right position where it needs to be, and then also too, you can kind of see where the wear marks are on the clutch. You can see where the wear marks right on the top. It's just this area right here. Everything else looks, you know, except for right here. So it's almost like this whole clutch is moving up and down like this. And I mean, just for a couple of rides around the block, I mean, you're gonna have some break-in. Don't get me wrong. But I would expect something like that more on maybe a couple 100 miles, you know, than just three rides around the block here. So this is the CD09 transmission, and you can see where the wear mark is on the output shaft here. So, and this transmission feels it feels really good. I don't think there's one thing wrong with this transmission. So the kit does come with the new throwout bearing, and the bearing itself feels really good, feels nice. The throw on this feels good too. I don't see any problem, you know, with this portion of it. My buddy Matt, he installed everything correctly and to spec. When I tore this apart, I didn't see anything he did wrong. The only thing I can think of is where you can see the wear mark, the brass wear mark, so you can see like where my finger is, right there. So this thing is sitting like literally right there, and that's just not enough support. So this input shaft, and most input shafts on transmissions you're gonna have some type of play. I mean, this one's pretty solid, but I mean there's gonna be some type of movement here. And so this thing is literally sitting right there, and it needs to be sitting like right here so it has more support. So we're sitting here, we're sitting about right here, and you can see where the stock wear pattern is on the stock. I don't know if these when they're bolted to the 350Z motor, if they're a pilot bearing or they're a bushing. I'm not too sure, but this is where the stock wear pattern is. You can see where the stock wear pattern is and where the wear pattern is for this thing, and that's where it needs to be sitting. Okay, so just showing, you know, I'm just gonna go ahead and measure this. and then we'll run over to the crankshaft and then show you. So that's about a 1/2 inch caliper into the back of the and then that's about where turn on the, so 670 thousandths. So I mean we're at 518 thousandths, so you know you can actually add, that's how much more you can extend that piece into the back of the crankshaft. And then also the back of the crankshaft looks like it's tapered, so you probably have to taper this bushing. The end of this bushing would probably have to be machined, and then it would have to be tapered, have kind of the same taper, so it goes right into the back of the crankshaft. That way this would just it would give more, it seems like it would just give more rigidity and more strength if you came out with this a little bit further. And then of course this end right here would have to be machined out a little bit more, just to give more output shaft support for everything. If there's a whole lot wrong with this design, I've already drove the car, I know the car drives. It's just this one issue, trying to figure out this, to find out what's going to work with this piece, you know, the pilot bushing itself. But anyway, I also wanted to point out too, so the reason that I know where this bushing is sitting on the shaft is where the wear marks are inside the bushing. So I don't know if you can see where the wear marks are and then where the shiny part is. So if you, I'll have to set you guys down here for a second. I could take my caliper and actually stick it down there and then put it right, you know, right where, let's see if I can see you guys, right in there, like right where towards the end of the wear marks, right where it becomes shiny. And then you come over here to the transmission. Put all this down right here. I don't know if my camera's gonna focus or not. Let's see if I can get my camera to focus. So you can take the caliper and then put it right on the output shaft, and you can see it ends right there. So if we take the bushing and we take it up to that point, that tells me exactly where this bushing is sitting on this output shaft. So it's sitting right there. This thing needs to be sitting right there. It needs to be sitting there, and it's sitting like right about there. So that's where it needs to be sitting. So again, this is Dave with D&E Performance. Appreciate you guys stopping by the garage, checking the channel out. You can always go over to my playlist, or you can go over to my video list under my YouTube account and check out all the other videos that I have. I have quite a few videos. If you're interested in the content, please like and subscribe. And if you have any input on this, go ahead and leave comment in the comment section. Again, thank you for stopping by, and we'll catch you on the flip.